Just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 congratulates Pastor and Mrs. William Sachs Epps on their retirement from stewardship at the historic Second Baptist Church. Dr. Epps has faithfully served Second Baptist as its senior pastor for 37 years. What a legacy of love and leadership. Pastor and Mrs. Epps will be honored at a luncheon on Saturday, July 26, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Sheraton Universal Hotel in Universal City, and you're invited to attend. Noted scholar Dr. Michael Eric Dyson is the keynote speaker. For ticket information, please contact epsretirement@gmail.com or call 213-399-2103. That's epsretirement@gmail.com or call 213-399-2103. To Pastor Epps and First Lady Epps, congratulations from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to The Black Pack. I'm Anoa Changa, sitting in for host Adrianne Shropshire, who's on the ground for the State of the People Power Tour, which has finally arrived in LA County. LA, Pasadena, Altadena, y'all are on the map this weekend. Definitely, get a chance if you have not already made it over there. If you are en route listening to KBLA, or maybe you're going to pull up tomorrow, definitely plug in. As many of the guests that we've had recently, and you'll hear conversation throughout the show this evening. This isn't just about this one stop. It's been multiple different cities over the last several weeks, and they're gearing up for their Juneteenth event in Baltimore coming up. But, we're really looking at the way in which we can build political power and connect these moments and connect the organizing work that is happening across organizations, across communities, across the country, right? And really across the diaspora, which the guest later in this hour, Nana Gyamfi, will talk more about. But, just thinking about what's been happening this week, especially the past couple of days, Elon Musk crashing out on Trump. I think his cancer, Scorpio's doing his thing right now. And if you're into the astrology, and Elon Musk crashed out on Trump is like, boo boo, I don't know what your problem is. But they're basically having this big falling out. And I know it's been amusing to watch, but we need to keep in mind, no matter how amusing we find it, these people are still actively harming our communities, right? They're still actively manipulating the political system. They're still actively engaging in practices, fraudulent, harmful practices, whether it's what Elon is doing in Memphis and this explosion of these unregulated data centers that are draining resources, that are poisoning, putting pollution out unregulated. These unregulated data centers that are putting pollution out into communities, like what we're starting to now hear about what's happening in Memphis. There's been some coverage, starting to see more coverage about what's been happening from the Meta data centers as well, and some of the places that have been harmed by water, just so much, right? And then we're seeing, so yes, don't be distracted. Have fun, laugh, enjoy, but really take the time to see behind the crowd, right? Don't get caught up in they beefing, because Elon Musk is still harmful, right? Donald Trump is still harmful. And at the end of the day, their interests are very much in alignment. And Elon Musk got to raid the federal government for contracts for our financial and personal information. I mean, who knows what he is walking away. Well, we probably do know, right? Because of all the things that he had unfettered access at Doge, even though he was never supposed to be in control of a federal agency or a sub-agency or whatever it was. But so these are things that we need to keep in mind. And so that is what the conversations this evening across the 4 p.m. and 5 p.m. hour, if you're listening live, and if you're listening, on the podcast, the two conversations for this week are really a series of really amazing folks who are talking about what are the current issues that are happening, but also how are our people plugging in and doing the work, because we don't always see what is happening, right? Because we're inundated with, ha ha he memes. And yes, I love to laugh, I love to sing, I love to dance. I'm not a good singer, but we need to make sure that we also know who is doing the work so we can find what our way is how we can plug in, right? And so we have a really great conversation with Nana Jumfi, like I said, from Baji, Executive Director of Black Alliance for Just Immigration. And what I really appreciate about Nana, and you'll hear it in this conversation with Nana and Adrianne, like Nana's understanding and diasporic view, you know, really brings in and bridges why we as Black Americans and folks who might come from a Black immigrant, Black migrant perspective and background, like why our continued commonality, why our continued organization and alignment is absolutely necessary and critical as we not just endure and do our best to thrive in spite of what's happening right now at the federal and in many ways the state levels, but also like how we just build better moving forward, right? How do we build stronger communities? I think about, you know, just some of what my mom has shared. She's an educator and has been a teacher, whatever. And just looking at the impact on the school community she was a part of when we started to have this, again, another uptick in terms of the targeted, particularly of Black migrants, Black immigrant folks, with the deportation, just the threat and the fear. And that sends a thing across our entire community. And one thing that's really cool that Nana's organization, Baji, has been doing, and we see this in the criminal justice context too. I mean, in so many ways, the criminal injustice system and the immigrant, system, I mean, they're all bent on penalties, right? And really about preventing warehousing, caging, minimizing the experience and opportunities of Black folks and brown folks as well, right? But we see the harm that comes to our communities in the targeting. We see similar we see similar activities in terms of the way in which people are profiled. I know when the latest round of immigration, the extremely aggressive immigration activity that has come with Trump 2.0, I warned my son, I'm like, yo, you need to make sure you got your license on you, because you look, you know, we are on my mom's side. I mean, her people's was from South Carolina, you know what I'm saying? Probably came from the historic Butler plantation in Georgia, right? And on my dad's side, like my great grandparents are from the islands, but it don't matter how many years, generations of citizenship we have on paper, because we know they're coming for all of us, and we should not be mistaken any other way. And so I just looked at him and said, we don't want to have to sort this out, you know, because ICE got it wrong or whoever. We need to get back to making sure that we have people who are going to be, I know these systems are imperfect, and that's something that Nana and that so many of the other guests, the rest of the show, talk about. But at the same time, like, how do we inoculate to the best of our ability while we're still building the new policies, the new systems, et cetera, right? And so Nana's organization does these really great snippets around Know Your Rights, and you'll hear a 4-part thing to really remember and hone in on, and just thinking more about what is our collective responsibility. So when we come forward, you will hear a great conversation with Nana Jumfi, Executive Director of the Black Alliance for Just Immigration, Baji, and Adrianne Shropshire, host of the Black Pack. Stay with us. There's a lot to talk about.
You're part of the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire on KBLA Talk 1580.
Time is up. The IRS is in full collection mode for 2025, issuing liens, levies, and garnishments to anyone who has a past tax debt or unfiled tax returns. Don't wait till it's too late. Your paycheck and bank accounts are at risk of being seized. Call now and stop the collection process today. If you're living check to check, no matter how much you're making, you still may qualify for the Fresh Start programs offered by the IRS to reduce or even eliminate your tax debt. It's just a 5-minute call to get your options, and it's free. If you owe back taxes, have years of unfiled tax returns under audit, have a wage or bank levy, or finally just want to sleep better, business or personal, call the experts at Republic Tax Relief while there's still time. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, and tough. This veteran-owned company has the fight you need to take on the IRS. Don't go at it alone. The call is free. Call their hotline number now, 800-259-4546. That's 800-259-4546. Find out if you qualify today. Call 800-259-4546 or go to republictaxrelief.com.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
You don't talk to me like that. Don't talk to your mommy like that.
Unlike your mama, we can handle your black talk on the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire.
You are listening to the Black Pack here on KBLA Talk 1580. And today is the day, of course, for the State of the People Power Tour, which has landed in Los Angeles after visiting 10 other cities and on its way to Baltimore for the big national gathering for Juneteenth. We've already had some surprise guests and lots of excitement. If you all are feeling up to it, you should go to stateoftheppl.com and register and get yourselves over for the rest of the evening. There is a rally starting at 7 p.m. That you all can certainly make it over to. But I am so glad to be joined in this moment by Nana Jomfrey, the executive director of BAJI, or the Black Alliance for Just Immigration, both because we haven't talked in a while, and there's been lots of stuff going on, but also because you were one of the panelists in the State of the People Power Tour today. And I want to just talk to you about this tour that's been happening. And why it's important right now in this moment, particularly as, again, we talk all the time about like the tsunami day after day. It's just one thing after another, in many ways, largely focusing on our community and all that it is, right, in the entire diaspora that we are. And it just seems like the tour itself is coming at a time where it's so important for our communities to be coming together, talking about not just how we're gonna push back, fight back, resist, but also talking about, how we lean on each other, how we lean on culture, how we lean on the various parts of our community to make sure that we're all okay. So that was a mouthful that I just said, but welcome. And tell me about you all, how you're thinking about, what you're thinking about the tour and the moment that is arriving, not just in Los Angeles, but in other cities across the country.
Thank you so very much. And thank you for having me on. And yes, glad to be back here with you. This tour, when we talk about meeting the moment, there's so many ways that our community members are trying to meet the moment. This tour is a big part of that way, right? It gives us a space that frankly has not been, has not had a light shine on it around what we as Black people are doing. Right. So when people are thinking about the ways in which let's say the pushback has looked, it has been, in terms of the media, very white. Let's just be honest. Like who's in the town halls, screaming and yelling. The tour by Bernie and AOC is like when they pan across, it's all these white people. Yeah. And so there's even though we are disproportionately being harmed by every single thing that needs to be pushed back against, we're not the faces that are being shown of people who are saying there should be another way. And so I think that it's important that we have this tour because we see our people coming together, certainly saying, no, there is Black impact, right? There's impact on our communities. And we are certainly continuing to
Right.
stand up, because we didn't just start all of a sudden when we realized that Medicare may be on the chopping block. Like, we've
Right.
been fighting these people,
Right.
okay? And so
Right.
to talk about how we've continued to do that and to have safe Black space, frankly, to be
Mhm.
able to have those conversations.
Yeah.
But I think it takes it further because we know as Black people that we can't just push back, that we have to care for each other to survive through this and to build at the same time for those of us, those many of us who will survive this catastrophe
Mhm.
in the names of those who may not, right?
Right.
And on
Yeah.
behalf of
Yeah.
those who built so that we could even talk about what we gonna build on, you know? And so
Right.
this is really important. Going to the cities, you can see the intention there, the purposefulness there, and it continues right here in Los Angeles and also in Pasadena, Altadena, or the Dina, as we like to call it out here.
Right. Well, I think that you raise a really important point, and we've talked about this at different times on the show with different folks. Is that as the resistance has been portrayed in the news media, it has mostly not included us, and it sort of led to this narrative, and also just folks online like, I'm tapping out, like, I'm tired, I'm not, I'm drinking my water, I'm popping my fan. It sort of led to this narrative that continues to be right. This sort of that, like, Black people are not in it, and where are the Black people? Because our organize in some way, in part because our organizing are coming together to strategize, are coming together to to be thoughtful about how we are moving forward collectively, doesn't look like the thing that people want it to look like,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
That there is this sense that you're only a part of the pushback or the resistance if you're in a big march, right? Or if you're at the big AOC Bernie rally, right? And if you're not doing those things, then somehow you're not a part of it. But those are not the only ways in which, for centuries, for generations, we have organized and pushed forward transformative change in this country. It hasn't just been because we do big marches.
Absolutely. And in fact, it has been, the big marches are sort of the icing on the cake, right? They're like the extra part. But really, it is the work that everyday folks have been doing in Black community. The everyday folks who are quilting together, who are going to movies together, in some cases are brunching together, right? Who are in the mosque and the church, who are, and also in some of our cases at the shrine house, right, with the ancestors, who are working with young people. We have been doing this work. What people are building on right now is the quiet work that has been done, not in shadows. And I
Right.
want to be clear about that. So it's not like, well, that's because we don't see it because you all hitting. No, it's not that it's in shadows, but it doesn't get the big camera. It doesn't get the big mic all the time. There's an understanding that this is what Black people do. And sometimes that's taken for granted, right?
Mm-hmm.
That, yeah, okay, they see Black people doing this work against, violence in our community, including state-sanctioned violence. We see our communities doing work to support people who need support in terms of healthcare access, speaking up for folks who may not have the capacity because of disabilities, accessibility, all kinds of pieces to be able to do so themselves. Lifting up the conversation about mental trauma. This is the conversations we brought up, right? Talking about queer rights. As I tell folks, whenever you look through professional sports, it's supposed to be like the most masculine of spaces. Where every single sport, the first people to get up and say, I am a gay man, right? Our brothers. You know what I'm saying? Like, we
Yeah.
are doing this work that
Yeah.
sometimes gets attention, sometimes doesn't get attention, but it's what allows for the language, allows for the culture that other folks are able to use. And that's fine, right? To be able to have this broader conversation. But if we weren't doing nothing, there would be nothing for them to talk about. They wouldn't have the language they're using now. They wouldn't have the frame that they're using now. They would be sitting up here, I don't know, 20 years ago, or pouring tea into the ocean. I have no clue, but they wouldn't be doing what they're doing right now.
I think that's right. So you talked about the intentionality of the cities, which feels really important. Started in Atlanta, went to North Carolina, went to Birmingham, went to Detroit, went to I'm gonna miss some cities here. Went to Louisville, went to Jackson, right? Like very intentional in terms of going to places where there are Black communities, significant Black communities who have the capacity to do many things, elect and unelect people, change policy in the state, but also impact federal policy, where there is a New Jersey, forgot about that. Newark, went to Newark. Places where, again, the sort of diaspora in many ways is represented. And we have to ask the question, and then what? Right. And so I would love to hear from you as we're thinking about, as these really important, this really important moment is happening, sort of building toward Baltimore. I think that, there is a question for all of us that we have to answer is how do we ensure that this wasn't just a 2-day stop, right, that came through towns, where people were invested and where people really did get something out of it, because it is a long fight. And so how do we make sure that we are continuing the work that has been, or building on the work that folks have put into making these 2 days across the country really effective?
And that's the question that we continue to ask ourselves. Baji is part of the planning committee for this fabulous 2 days right here. And that was a conversation we were having every single committee meeting. It was like, okay, and then how does this go forward? How does this move forward? One piece is the tour organizers did just an excellent job of making sure that in each of these cities, that the people who were part of the planning, that were leading the planning, were people who this is their city. This is the work that they do. They're connected to organization. They're connected to base. So it wasn't just like people who have, no relationship or sort of helicoptering in. Everyone does look fabulous, but that wasn't the only criteria, right? It was people that actually are connected to, boots on the ground, folks on the ground, community leaders. And so you're already starting with people that, again, have been doing this work and are invested in making sure this work continues.
Yeah.
The other piece that has happened in these cities is that it's been opened up with a conversation that we're all having about what's the absorption plan, right? In 2020, hundreds of thousands, equaling millions of people across the country engaged in these protests around George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and so many more. One of the things we didn't do such a good job at, and I'm including Baji in that, is the absorption. How did that double, triple, quadruple the people who are actually engaged in organizing? We may make new mistakes, but we ain't going to make the same ones. You know what I mean? And so now it's, part of the conversation that I'm hearing coming out of each of the cities, and certainly with the stop in Los Angeles and Dina, is how do we make sure that we're inviting people in, that we're giving people entryways into the work if they're not already engaged in work, that we are giving them space to be able to do their thing also there, right? And that we're connecting with each other more and de-siloing the work that we do, because immigration is connected to housing, is connected to healthcare, is connected to recovery, is connected to youth and what they got going on. It's like all of that is connected to each other. And when we get together in the way that it's been planned out for us to do, and I'm hoping folks come on down and jump in, that's how we're going to be able to envision the future and then see how we're working together to make sure that that future is a reality.
Yeah, I think what feels important about the thing that you just said, and it connects back to what you were saying earlier too, is that this work has already been happening. Right? This isn't coming into a space and trying to create something, that it is relying on the groups, Baji, the California Black Power Network, right? Leaders Up, right? Like organizations across the city in Los Angeles and also in Pasadena that have who this is just what they do. And so the question is, how do we use this opportunity, I think, to expand that work and, to your point, to bring folks in? Because I really do think that people are looking for a home. And that's why for me, the LA stop today and tomorrow feels really important, because it is that sort of opening that if people needed an opening, right? If they needed to figure out where they could find a home, this feels like that. To me.
Absolutely. And there's also going to be opportunities with that, which I think is very important, to also plug into some healing, right? And so there are going to be healing zones. There's going to be opportunity to plug in with some arts and culture, because it can't just be that all of it is like the political education, this, the that. No. In order for it to really take root and to be watered, it has to also be our vibe, our conversation, our ways of allowing people to have the opportunity to woo-sa, right? And to know that you actually can be effective, to get out of the really talking in your head, feeling like, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And being able to be in a space, again, that is a safe space. It's safe because it's us, for us, by us. Giving my age here. It's safe because it is organizations that can be trusted, that have shown that they can be trusted and work in terms of the community. It's safe because you're giving the opportunity to be able to be you and to add what skills you can bring with your leadership. And it's safe because we've got the healing, we've got the art, we've got the culture that gives that warm hug and is going to enable you to know that, yes, you are part of this legacy, and to take a more active role in that legacy.
We are here with Nana Gyamfi of the Black Alliance for Just Immigration, talking about the State of the People Power Tour that is happening right now. When we come forward, I want to talk about what is happening with immigration and deportations. That our community continues to be under withering assault by this administration. And I think from our last conversation, it has only increased. Say what this is, KBLA Talk 1580.
More of the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. A woman known as Jane says she booked hotel nights for Sean Diddy Combs and was pressured to meet his sexual demands or risk losing their relationship. Combs was warned in court for making gestures at the jury. He's pleaded not guilty to sex trafficking and other charges. President Trump is reportedly planning to extend the deadline for a TikTok sale again. That's according to the Wall Street Journal, which cited people familiar with the president's plans. This would be the third extension granted by Trump since he retook office in January. TikTok's China-based owner must sell the popular video sharing app or it will face a ban in the U.S. The current deadline is June 19th. And Reverend Leleda Gee has been named Chief Cultural Officer of the Center for Black Excellence and Culture in Madison, Wisconsin. A longtime resident, Gee will lead efforts to celebrate and advance Black culture. The center says she's been key to its development. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
There is NIL money in women's college softball. Texas Tech pitcher Najari Kennedy was the first softball player to sign a $1 million NIL deal 2 years ago when she was at Stanford. Friday morning, the African-American star from Topeka, Kansas, signed another $1 million NIL deal, confirming her intentions to stay at Texas Tech for her senior season next year. Kennedy has become the face of women's college softball. She's a two-time NCAA Player of the Year and a three-time first-team All-American. Kennedy will be pitching tonight for Texas Tech against Texas in the championship game in Oklahoma City. Tomorrow night at 7 here on KBLA. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough for Out of Bounds. 60 minutes of sports chatter with some flavor. We'll preview Game 2 of the NBA Finals and recap Coco Gauff's performance Saturday morning in the French Open Tennis Championship. No debates, no speculation. information, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 congratulates Pastor and Mrs. William Sachs Epps on their retirement from stewardship at the historic Second Baptist Church. Dr. Epps has faithfully served Second Baptist as its senior pastor for 37 years. What a legacy of love and leadership. Pastor and Mrs. Epps will be honored at a luncheon on Saturday, July 26, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Sheraton Universal Hotel in Universal City, and you're invited to attend. Noted scholar Dr. Michael Eric Dyson is the keynote speaker. For ticket information, please contact epsretirement@gmail.com or call 213-399-2103. That's epsretirement@gmail.com or call 213-399-2103. To Pastor Epps and First Lady Epps, congratulations from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
Unapologetically provocative. Unapologetically bold. Unapologetically erotic. Unapologetically progressive. We've got you covered. This is LA's new home for smart dialogue. KBLA Talk 1580.
The State of the People Power Tour is not a moment, it's a movement. 11 cities, one mission. To organize with care, build with strategy, and remind ourselves that we have never needed saving. This Friday and Saturday, the State of the People Power Tour arrives in LA for its final stop. The State of the People Power Tour is not just a series of stops. It's a signal, a shift, a belief that power lies in the hands of everyday people. A belief that if we show up for each other, our communities will be stronger. Join us this Friday, June 6th in Los Angeles at the Seed School and on Saturday, June 7th at Pasadena City College. We need you in the room to link arms with neighbors and leaders from across the country to build something that will last, because we believe if we move together, we will rise together. For more information and to register, go to stateoftheppl.com and join us as we build a new nation where every voice matters.
Hey, I am D.L. Hughley, host of the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show, heard weekdays from 2 to 4 exclusively on KBLA Talk 1580. I promise to make you think a little, but laugh a whole lot more. So tune in to the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show 2 to 4 only on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Let's get back to more of the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire right now on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to the Black Pack, and I am joined by Nana Gyamfi, the Executive Director of the Black Alliance for Just Immigration, or BAJI. We have been talking about the State of the People Power Tour. It is happening right now. There is still time for you to get involved. You can go to stateoftheppl.com and register. You have to be registered to attend the event, but it's happening right now, and there is a rally that will be going on tonight from 7 to 9 p.m. If you can make it over. There's been lots of incredible conversation. It's been fabulous, and so make sure you don't miss out on the remaining part of the LA day. And then tomorrow is in Pasadena. So you can register for either or both days. When you joined us back in March, which feels like 100 years ago.
Absolutely. It really does.
It was like a long, long time ago. We were talking about the Trump administration's increasing criminalization of immigrant communities. We were talking about the impact on Black communities, and things have only just gotten increasingly worse since we talked last time. We've seen this illegal, unconstitutional resettlement to third party countries. We have seen, families being, torn apart, right? We've seen fear increase. We've seen, again, the kind of crazy deportations and the revoking of protective status for different groups. We've seen travel bans now, targeting, I suppose, the same countries that he targeted the last time he did travel bans, with maybe some expansion. So talk to us about the impact of this on the communities and the folks that Baji works with, because we already saw deep concern and fear. What's happening now among the communities that you all are working with?
It's wild out here. You hear me? It is beyond wild. So, first, just to give context, Black migrants that are foreign born, right, born outside this country, are 10% of the Black community. 10% of Black America are Black migrants. If you add their children, people like me who were born here, it goes up to a little bit above 20-something%, which basically means that if you know 5 Black people, one of them is either an immigrant or a child of immigrants. And most of us listening know way more than 5 Black people, right? So just understanding what we're talking about. A lot of Black families are what they call mixed status families. Now, we use mixed status in a number of ways, but one way are people who, one parent may be African American, the other parent may be immigrant, like a Malcolm X, right? And then, they're, or like my son, right? And then there are others who are mixed status because someone's actually undocumented or they're here with a green card, whereas the other person is a citizen, right? And so Black migrants find themselves in a position in which being ripped away doesn't just mean being a tear and a rip, which is bad enough in the fabric of Black immigrant community. But I think it's important that people understand that is a rip in the fabric of Black community.
Right.
Black Los Angeles, think about all the stores Think about the stores along Crenshaw. Think about the stores in Inglewood, in Gardena, and all of these places, these businesses. And imagine if Black business, African or Caribbean businesses weren't there. That would be a chunk of our culture, our life, that are in that space. And so what we have now are masked men running up on people, not wearing anything that looks like a police uniform or ICE uniform, purposefully making people feel that panic that you feel if you're going to be kidnapped, right? Knowing that for most people, we're taught, fight like heck if someone tries to grab you because otherwise once you make it in the car, you're going to be gone forever. And imagine people are living that in an everyday life. People are going to open up their trash can. By the time they close their trash can, someone has grabbed them. They have grabbed people in schools, high schools. They have grabbed people. They have grabbed people going to immigration court to handle the business they're supposed to handle, going to the immigration services to complete their citizenship. They've been vetted. They've been told they can come on. We just have a few questions for you. And the next thing you know, they're gone. And now, as you've indicated, we have the attacks on international students, where students who have come here, and it takes so much, it's so hard to even get, particularly as a Black immigrant, the capacity to get into these schools is so difficult because, they don't want no kind of Black folks up in here. So it's so hard to do anyway. You have to pay. You have no student loans. There's no type of anything. You've got to pay out your pocket. Most people don't have that. They come from working class families, and they just got told before graduation, too bad you have to go. You don't get to get your degree, literally, in some cases, weeks before. And then, of course, we have these travel bans. And, I wish I could say that there's some common sense. The travel ban includes countries like Chad.
Right. Yeah.
It includes countries restrictions on countries like Burundi. Now, this is a president who said that Lesotho was a country no one had ever heard of. If he ain't never heard of Lesotho, I promise you, he has never heard of Burundi. Right. He has countries on there, Sierra Leone, like countries that make no sense. But at the end of the day, the cruelty is the point and the anti-Blackness is the point. Because at the same time that certain people are being banned, Afrikaners
Yes.
are being told that they're refugees because there's a so-called genocide that everyone knows is not happening, right? That allows them to be able to be flown directly by the government. So people are afraid. And at the same time, as Black people have always done, in the midst of attacks, we're still resolved, right? And we're still able to lean on ourselves, on our communities, our community members to support and to make sure that we are, we got us, that we're taking care of each other as much as possible, and that we are not just going, quietly into that night. And I'll say just, lastly, the desperate acts that we're seeing are because they are losing. Because this man wanted to deport more people than this one and deport more people than that one. And even today, sis, he has not done it. To this day, his numbers, like everything else about him, are not what, he would like them to be. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes. Indeed. Indeed.
And that's why he's acting this way. And so we have to remember that, right? And that doesn't mean that we are not heartbroken for the people who are terrorized. Yeah. But we know as Black people in this country that there is no sanctuary from white supremacy. That's why we have to eliminate white supremacy, because there's not a nice word you can say. There's not a degree that you can get. There's not a yasa that you can do. There's not, in order to escape the violence of white supremacy. They would, they lynch folks in their uniform, in their military uniform. They don't care about those things, right? And so all we can do is fight. In order to make sure that we can survive and thrive. And I'm pleased to say that the fact that they're acting this desperate is a sign that we're doing a great job as a diaspora, because again, this is not just Black immigrants. It is because Black Americans and Black immigrants are working together, which is good because they also want to send Black Americans to El Salvador. So, if you didn't care about Black immigrants, care for yourself and understand that it's about you too.
Yeah, I think that this is part of what is happening while the Trump administration can't get all the things done that they want to, is because you simply cannot just violate the Constitution because you want to. But help us understand, what are those rights? What should people know about what they can do, what they can expect if they find themselves in one of the positions that you just described?
Thank you so much for this, because this is really important and it's useful for everyone, because your rights when it comes to law enforcement, governmental law enforcement, right? So that's not like the private security in the mall. Governmental law enforcement are the same, whether you're talking about ICE, whether you're talking about local police, or you're talking about the FBI or the Postal Service. Mm-hmm. You have a right to remain silent. Well, first of all, you have a right not to be stopped unless there's probable cause of something. If it's in the immigration context, they have to have probable cause that you are deportable, not that you are an immigrant, but that you are deportable. Now, there's not a special D that shows up on your forehead when you're deportable. But if they hear an accent, they see that nose look a little too broad, that hair look a little too nappy, and you look African to them, or you look whatever to them, so Benjamin Crump, I know he in trouble. That brother, I teased him one day. I was like, brother, you better duck and dodge in that Florida.
They might be coming.
Okay, because that's the kind of racist profiling that they're doing to give themselves probable cause, in the way that criminal punishment system cops use same racist profiling, right, to give themselves probable cause. So you have a right to ask them, am I free to leave? And that's what you should do under all circumstances. Mm-hmm. Don't assume that you're not free to leave just because they put their hands on you or they've handcuffed you, because they will do these tactics. And the Supreme Court says that they can lie to you. They can do all this stuff as part of their investigation. So ask, am I free to leave? And if they say yes, leave. Don't run, but leave. Mm-hmm. If they say no, then you're in custody, regardless of what they say. And you need to say two things. I don't want to talk to you because you have a right to remain silent. Mm-hmm. And I want my attorney, whether you have an attorney or not, because you have a right to counsel. Right. If they try to search you, you need to say, I do not consent to this search. Now, sometimes people are like, why are we saying all these things that may not be recorded? But it might be recorded by bystanders, recorded by the cops themselves, right? Sometimes you can even do a little something and get a recording in, So it's important. It's important not to sign anything Because I've too many stories I've heard with tears in my eyes of people signing stuff because they just wanted to get out of the situation. But you could be signing your deportation papers, right? You could be signing that you, Adrian, you're actually not a citizen, that you agree that you are from Jamaica. You know what I mean? It's like, what are you talking about, right? But you signed it, you know what I mean? And then this is not the place to try to fight people, because you're not going to win that battle right there in the, wherever you are, the courtroom, in front of your front yard at the traffic stop. Think about that, use that energy to pay attention to what's going on around. And then lastly, if you see someone being accosted by anyone, masked people, unmasked people that you believe may be law enforcement, yell out to people and remind them. Because if any of you have ever, even in a protest, had the police accost you, it is scary. And everything I just said goes out your mind. So if someone yells, "Hey, sis, ask them if you're free to leave," that helps you to remember to ask those things. So it's important for all of us to know.
When we come forward, I'm actually going to ask you to repeat those 4 things. This is the Black Pack here on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're part of the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm LA City Councilman Curran Price, inviting you to join us on Saturday, June the 14th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. as we cut the ribbon on the brand new Enel Woods Park at 8703 South McKinley Avenue. Thanks to a generous donation from Heal the Bay, the park features smart irrigation, stormwater capture systems, and space for local wildlife to thrive. And we've built a walking trail, picnic areas, native landscaping, and quiet spaces for families to gather, relax, and connect. This is part of a much larger effort to expand green spaces across South LA with 3 new parks in the works, a first-of-its-kind community center coming soon, and plans to connect it all through the South LA Greenway. So mark your calendar for Saturday, June 14th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., and come celebrate a greener, stronger South LA at Enel Woods Park. I'm also pleased to sponsor the Climate Justice plus Black Health Symposium, moderated by Tavis Smiley, live on C-SPAN, Wednesday, June the 18th, from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center. Just a reminder to sign up right away at the KBLA1580.com website to join me, Mayor Karen Bass, Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager Dove, Tennessee State Representative Justin Pearson, Dr. Cornel West, former Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr., the Sierra Club's Ben Jealous, and other Black influencers in the climate and health fields, as we continue to amplify the connection between climate and poor health outcomes for our people. Thank you for listening. I'm Councilman Curran Price.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Founded in Los Angeles in 1986, litigation powerhouse Quinn Emanuel has deep roots in the Los Angeles community. Since 2007, we have litigated some of the largest fires on the West Coast. We are proud to be the only AmLaw 100 firm in the country to represent wildfire victims, giving affected individuals, families, and businesses the same focus and individualized attention we devote to our Fortune 500 clients. BTI Consulting has repeatedly recognized Quinn Emanuel as among the 4 law firms in-house counsel least like to oppose in any litigation, and we are often deemed the most feared. And after securing over $80 billion for our clients in various matters firm-wide, we understand why. If you have been affected by the recent wildfires in Altadena and the Palisades and would like to discuss your situation further, please contact wildfire support at QuinnEmanuel.com or call us at 213-443-3050. Quinn Emanuel is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from Nitsa and the Ad Council.
You don't talk to me like that. Don't talk to your mommy like that.
Unlike your mama, we can handle your black talk on the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire.
You are listening to the Black Pack here on KBLA Talk 1580. We are wrapping up our conversation with Nana Gyamfi, Executive Director of the Black Alliance for Just Immigration, or BAJI. We are talking about the State of the People Power Tour that is happening. And take yourself to the internet and go to stateoftheppl.com and register. There's still time for you to get over to the Seed School and participate. So Nana, I'm going to ask you just to repeat those. I think it was 4 things that you said in terms of know your rights is important for people to not only know for themselves, but to know for others in case they need to be of assistance at some point.
Absolutely. We call them the 4 freedom mantras. Yes. 1, am I free to leave? 2, I don't want to talk to you. 3, I want my attorney. 4, I do not consent to a search. Yeah. Don't sign anything. And remember to yell these out for others if you see them in trouble.
Yeah. So that's really important because I think as we either see in our own neighborhoods, right, or watch on television, the ways in which people are getting accosted, right? And there are folks out there and they are recording, right? And so there are upstanders. I know in my kids' schools, they used to call them upstanders, right? People who are willing to stand up. And so it's important for everyone to have that framing in mind, those 4 points in mind.
Absolutely. Because again, in that moment, it is very scary. And so we just have to help each other as much as possible. You know, we're actually, even though the term 4 freedom mantras is one that we talk about, we know this is what the Black Panthers taught us. We know this is what Ella Baker taught us, and so on and so on and so on, right? It's just trying to think of the ways that people can remember so that it becomes just normal conversation, right? Yeah. Then we know how to do it. We have the muscle memory and we make it happen. And there's going to be Know Your Rights. By the way, tomorrow at Dina, there's going to be some Know Your Rights workshops. So you can also plug into that there. And BAJI today and tomorrow is going to also has Know Your Rights cards in multiple languages, including English, but other languages spoken by Black migrant folks. And so, you know, grab some for your neighbors, your family members, your kids, teacher, you know, for everybody. Make sure we socialize this.
So I thank you for that, because again, I you know, throughout our time here, I've been telling people register and go down there, go down there. And one reason, besides the tacos and the music and the entertainment, is to pick up some of those cards and distribute them to people that you know, right? To your neighbors or family or friends, people that you think will need them. So I appreciate that. And then also tomorrow at Pasadena City College, BAJI will be doing workshops there. There'll be a field hearing to talk about recovery, et cetera. So there's a lot going on between today and tomorrow. Tell us a little bit about, I know that this is, you know, for folks that are not doing work in immigrant communities, all of this can feel overwhelming, right? The attack on migrants, the sort of disappearing of people off of the street, the attack on students. But you all are doing the work. And so I talk to us a little bit about what you all are focused on right now, the work that you all are doing. And then I'm going to ask you, I think I've asked you before, to let people know how they can find y'all if they want to get involved or they want to support the work that BAJI is doing.
So thank you for that. It's always good to have an opportunity to give people at least the bottom line on some of what we're doing. So a lot of our work is around cops in cages. We are an abolitionist organization, and we're looking to see how do we divest from those systems of harm and invest in systems of care. And so we do a lot of that work. We're a national org, but we're also local. And so we have a local office here in Los Angeles, as well as in the Inland Empire, local folks that are doing this work. We have a care and wellness focus that is both what can we do for ourselves, because at the end of the day, I know that we, and you know that we do for ourselves, right? And we fill in the gaps, but also pressing the government because we do pay them taxes. Even undocumented people pay taxes to the government.
That's right.
So you got to do something other than make the oligarchy richer, right? We need you to kick down some of this. And so we work on that care and wellness piece, and then community power building. So we're a part of the California Black Power Network. We're a part of the Movement for Black Lives. We're a part of various immigration coalitions here. Work with folks like LA Can on housing issues, trying to see how can we make sure that our people live what I'd love to call the sweet life. We are supposed to live a life that is sweet, right? Yeah. And we deserve a life that is sweet as Black people. And so we keep ourselves focused on the vision and on the love that we have for the people. And that kind of gets out some of the noise and really take the time to reframe what it is that is happening as really folks understanding that the world where they run everything, where they get to harm everybody, where they get to have all the good stuff for themselves, is coming to an end. And the world in which, Black folks and others who are, hold this world up, where we all can thrive. That is the world that we're building towards. And, and it's happening. We're seeing it happen right before our eyes.
And again, why there's so much pushback right now, why there is this sort of desperation that feels like it's happening because, it is a, Charles Blow said they'd rather burn it all down than share, right?
Absolutely.
That's where we are. So tell us, if people want to get involved, they want to support Baji and the work that you all are doing, how do they find you?
So they can find us online at baji.org. They can go there. They can find us social media. We're on Instagram at InstaBaji. We are still on that X, trying to figure out what to do with that Twitter over there at Baji Tweet. We're on Facebook, and plug in, and we will definitely engage in entry points and absorption. And if you're already doing this work, we're really happy to connect with you.
Yeah. So I want to, again, appreciate you for joining. I just really want to encourage folks to go to the website and find a way, right, to support the work that Baji is doing, because it's important work and always important. And in this moment in particular, both in terms of supporting Black migrant communities, but also because of the connected work that you do to make sure that Black Americans and Black immigrant communities are connected and are clear on our shared history and our shared future. So I'll appreciate you all for doing that work as well. This is KBLA Talk 1580. You are listening to the Black Pack. Still time to go to stateoftheppl.com and get over to the State of the People at the Seed School for today and tomorrow in Pasadena. But stay with us. We have a lot to talk about.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. A woman known as Jane says she booked hotel nights for Sean Diddy Combs and was pressured to meet his sexual demands or risk losing their relationship. Combs was warned in court for making gestures at the jury. He's pleaded not guilty to sex trafficking and other charges. President Trump is reportedly planning to extend the deadline for a TikTok sale again. That's